Hello everyone, Alicia here with another lightened up Weight Watcher friendly recipe, and today I'm going to be making a dessert that I think is perfect for the fall, but I also think it's perfect for like Thanksgiving. It's a nice dessert to have for Thanksgiving, but it's also just, like I said, great for fall in general. So I wanted to show it to you. It's really easy to make, but it's just absolutely delicious. So let me jump into ingredients real quick. First up, for the crust, you're gonna need a cup of all-purpose flour. You're also gonna need some chopped pecans. I'm gonna be using 3/4 cup total in this recipe, a 1/2 cup for the crust, and then a 1/4 cup to top with. Next, for the crust, you're gonna need a light butter spread. I'm using this Brummel and Brown. This is my favorite light butter spread. You're gonna need a 1/2 cup or 8 tablespoons of that. And then finally, for the crust, you're gonna need some sweetener. I'm using this Lakanto Monkfruit. This is my favorite. You are gonna need 3 tablespoons of that, or whatever your preferred no-calorie classic sugar replacement is. So for the filling for this, or the rest of it, you're gonna need some pumpkin puree, and you wanna make sure that it's the 100% pumpkin, not the pumpkin pie filling. So you're gonna need either a 15-ounce can. Now this is a 29-ounce can, so I'm gonna be measuring mine out, but you could use a 15-ounce can or about 2 cups. So for this, I'm gonna be measuring about 2 cups out of that container. Next up, you're gonna need a fat-free whipped topping. I'm using this Cool Whip brand. You're gonna need 8 ounces of this, which is gonna be the whole tub, and that's gonna be divided into 3 different uses. You're gonna need some almond milk, 1.5 cups of this, or you could use a skim milk if you prefer. A sugar-free powdered sugar alternative, I'm using the Lakanto brand again. 1/2 cup of that. And then you're gonna need 2 boxes of a sugar-free, fat-free pudding mix. I'm using the Jello brand, and I finally was able to find the cheesecake flavor, so I'm gonna be using cheesecake in this. You could also use vanilla if you want. I like the cheesecake. It kind of goes along with just the overall flavor of this. So I'm gonna be using 2 boxes, and these are 1 ounce a piece. And speaking of cheesecake, you are gonna need some light cream cheese. Now, typically, I use the bricks. Ones like this, Neufchâtel, I cannot say that, but the third less fat bricks like this. Now, recently I discovered that these are 28 points, I believe, for the whole brick, whereas this one in the tub is, I think it's 20 points, maybe 22. Anyway, it's lower calories and fat than the bricks. So I figured I might as well use this. Now, if you do want to use a brick like this, it's not going to affect the overall points on this specific recipe. I checked it just to make sure, but this stuff in the tub, it is a little creamier, a little easier to work with, so that's why I'm using that this time. Not only for the lower points, but just because it's a little easier to work with. But whatever you use, you're gonna want 8 ounces of a light cream cheese. And then finally, you're gonna need some pumpkin spice. I actually grabbed the wrong one that says apple spice, so I will switch that out. But you need some pumpkin pie spice for this. I make both of my own apple and pumpkin, which is why I grabbed the wrong one here. Anyway, I will link that recipe video up above and down below if you want to see how to make these spices, but you're going to need a teaspoon pumpkin pie spice. And that is everything that's in this, so let me get us started. First thing I'm gonna do is, 1, get my oven preheating to 350, and then I am gonna take my pecans and I'm gonna chop them up until I get 3/4 cup total in my little handy dandy antique nut chopper. I actually found this in an antique store, but my mom had the same exact one growing up. She probably still has it. So anyway, I had to grab this when I saw this, and it works really well, as do a lot of the antique stuff. So anyway, little sidebar there, but I'm gonna get my pecans chopped up in this. And again, I'm looking for 3/4 cup total. Got my 3/4 cup chopped there. And I should also say you can use a food processor or however you want to get yours kind of finely chopped up like that. So I'm gonna set that aside. And now I'm gonna take my butter spread and I'm gonna get a 1/2 cup of this melted up. Got my butter spread melted. I'm I've also got a medium-sized bowl here. And to that, I'm gonna add in my 1 cup all-purpose flour, about a 1/2 cup of those pecans. I'm gonna be reserving about a 1/4 cup for the topping. And my measuring cups have these handy dandy little inside indicators, so that's 1/4 cup. So I'm gonna take that, set that aside. I'm gonna pour in my butter spread. And now I'm gonna add in my 3 tablespoons of monk fruit classic. And I'm gonna just stir all of this together really well. That's looking good, nice and kind of crumbly. So now I'm gonna grab my pan. I've got a 13 by 9 inch dish here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spray it with some no-calorie cooking spray, which I forgot to show in my ingredients like I almost always do, but I will have this linked down in the ingredients list, as well as in my WW recipe builder. So I'm gonna just give this a quick spray. And then I'm gonna just pour this crust mixture in. And with my very clean hands, I'm going to press this out into the bottom of this pan as evenly as I can. And it is gonna be a little thin, but it will definitely end up covering the whole bottom if you work it in. I've got that pretty well pressed in here, evenly across the pans. So now I'm gonna put this in my oven at 350 and let it bake about 10-15 minutes until it's just got a little bit of a golden brown to it. So I will be back once that is ready to come out. I let this bake for 15 minutes. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let it completely cool before I work on my fillings, because it needs to be completely cooled before I top it with anything. So I will be back once this has cooled. I've got my crust cooled here, and what I did was I let it sit for about half hour, and then I popped it in the freezer just to kind of expedite the process of cooling it down. But if you're gonna just let it sit on the counter to cool, it's gonna take probably a good hour plus. So anyway, that's usually what I do. I'll just stick it in the freezer to get it cooled down quicker so I can get on to making it. But now that that is cooled, I'm gonna go ahead and get my cream cheese mixture done up. I'm gonna take a small bowl here, and to that, I'm gonna add in my container, or 8 ounces of light cream cheese. And you do want this at room temp. I think I might have forgot to say that when I was going over the ingredients. So it's gonna make this cream together a whole lot easier. And to that, I'm gonna add a 1/2 cup of that Lakanto powdered. And I'm gonna just mix the 2 of these together. You could also do this in a mixer, which is a whole lot easier, but I'm gonna be using that for the next step. So I figured just do it by hand. That's looking pretty good. So now I'm gonna grab a cup of the whipped topping, or 1/3 of that container, add that in, and fold that in. Okay, that's ready to go on my crust. Next up, for the pumpkin filling part of this, I'm gonna take my little NutriBullet here to get my pudding mix and almond milk mixed together. So again, that's 1.5 cups almond milk, and then the 2 packages of pudding mix. Now you could just whisk these together in a bowl if you want, that works too. But what I found with these pudding mixes, especially the sugar-free ones, is they don't mix together very well just by hand. So I started blending them this way. It's really easy, and it produces a much smoother texture. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna add my other one in and get this blended up real quick, and then I'll be back. Okay, another medium-sized bowl. I've got my pudding mixture blended up in here, so I'm gonna add this in, along with my 2 cups pumpkin puree and my teaspoon pumpkin pie spice. And then I'm gonna just mix all of that together really well. Like that. Now I'm gonna add another 1/3 of that whipped topping to this and fold that in. So now I'm gonna take my cream cheese mixture. I'm gonna just pour it on top with my crust and just spread it on evenly. Next, I'm going to take my pumpkin mixture, pour that on top of my cream cheese mixture, and spread that out as evenly as I can. And now I'm going to take my last third of that whipped topping, add that on the top, and just spread that out as evenly as I can. And this layer is pretty thin, so I just kind of get it on there the best I can. And I don't usually take it completely to the edges, as you can see here. And you can add more if you want, but that will most likely increase the point. So I just like to add a little bit on the top for look mostly. Now finally I'm going to take my remaining pecan pieces and I'm going to just sprinkle those on the top. Okay, and that is it. So now I'm going to cover this with some plastic wrap and I'm going to let it refrigerate for about 4 hours. And that just gives everything a chance to kind of set up. So I will be back after about 4 hours. I let this sit, not quite the length of time I wanted to, but I think long enough for us to be able to cut into it, show you what it looks like, taste it, all that good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a serving size out of this, which is going to be a 1/12 of the total. Just went straight to the spooning. All right. Okay, wait, before you try that, let me give the points before I forget. So again, this is a 1/12, which points on that are going to be 8. Okay. Got the hubby here. The hubs.
So it looks like a dessert my mom would make for holidays.
What'd you say, like Watergate?
Watergate, I think is what she called it.
Or something? Yeah.
It was walnuts though on top. And this is, my brain's telling me this is butterscotch.
But it's pumpkin.
Because that's what it, you know, that's what it looks like.
Inside, I should have let that sit a little bit longer. It's not quite as firmed up as it should be, but for tasting purposes.
And that's a pecan crust.
Yes, it's a pecan. It's almost like a shortbread with pecans in it.
So the pumpkin's really nice and understated. Kind of light, a little lighter than I would expect.
Really? Because there's 2 cups in there of puree. So quite a bit of pumpkin, really.
The pecans add this really nice richness to it.
What about the cream cheese layer? I'm thinking the cream cheese layer might be kind of subduing the pumpkin.
I think it is.
That's how that works.
Not in a bad way at all.
Yeah, just kind of mellows it out. Mm-hmm. But cream cheese and pumpkin is always a nice combination, I think. Same with the pecans. It all goes together into deliciousness.
Yeah, that crust really
adds
to it.
The shortbread crusts are hard to beat. All right, guys, that was Pumpkin Delight. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.